Does motherhood ruin your life? Are women going to die from miscarriage if they can't get an abortion? And what the heck is Beyonce going on about in this speech? And that's today on The Dr. Joe Show. So the first thing I want to say, guys, is thank you so much for joining me on this journey. It's been now 3 weeks of the Dr. Joe Show, and I'm so grateful for each of you. I had no idea that this would be such a huge workload producing a daily show, but I'm really grateful to the team behind me, but also each of you, especially each of you who every day tune in and listen. If you're on Spotify, can I just ask, can you please give it a 5-star rating? Just that'll help it get out to more people, make it more searchable. If you're on YouTube, please make sure you've subscribed and hit that notification bell. Please leave comments, guys, because it just helps it go further. And tell people about the show. I really want to change the culture, change hearts and minds on abortion, on motherhood and parenting. And I think that this show, through longer form content, has the capacity to do that. So I need your help. Please help it get out there to more people. And thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for being with me on this journey. Write comments, because I read every single one and I really appreciate your feedback. I know some of you have said there's been a bit of an echo, there's been some mic issues. We're trying to get our head around all of the tech things that you need when you do a podcast, and hopefully we're getting there. Hopefully it's getting a little bit better. But, keep leaving those comments, because I love hearing from you guys about what you like and don't like with the show. So today I thought it would be a bit fun to do something different and to react to a couple of videos that have been circulating online. The first video is from Senator Cortez, who's having an interaction with RFK. Let's take a watch.
A pregnant woman with a life-threatening bleeding from an incomplete miscarriage goes to the ER, and her doctor also determines that she needs an emergency abortion. But she's in a state where abortion is banned. You would agree also, as an attorney, that federal law protects her right to that emergency care, correct?
I don't know. I mean, the answer to that is I don't know if the state bans it.
This is frustrating on so many levels. Senator Cortez is setting up RFK with this question that's essentially a fabrication. It's like a house of cards built on lies. I'm going to get to that in a minute. But RFK, that's not a good enough answer. He should know. He's the health secretary. He should know. 1 in 4 women will go for an abortion in the US. Many women experience miscarriage. As the health secretary, he needs to know what the right care is for women in a miscarriage situation. And it's not good enough that he doesn't know. But one of the reasons he doesn't know, and one of the reasons so many people are confused about this, is because the abortion industry has been lying to women ever since Roe v. Wade was overturned. So ever since Roe v. Wade was overturned, they have been saying to women, you are going to die. If you're in a miscarriage situation and you're in a state where abortion is banned, you are going to die. Your life will be at risk. You won't be able to get the care that you need. And that's because abortion is banned. But let's actually go through what's happening here. So in an abortion, what you have is a woman, say at 12 weeks, who presents at a hospital and says, I want to have an abortion. I want to end the life of my child. And if she's in a state like Texas or Florida where abortion is banned, the doctors are going to turn around and say, sorry, we're not able to do that for you. The method that they would have used if they could do it, say they were in New York or LA where you can do this because it's legal, the method they would have used is something called a dilation and a curettage. And what that does is it essentially breaks apart the baby's body and it brings the baby out. And they use metal instruments to do that. And that's what a doctor does in a D and C abortion. However, if a woman in Florida or Texas where abortion is banned presents with a miscarriage, in that situation, her baby has died. She's got an incomplete miscarriage. So what's happened is her baby has tragically died inside her, but bits of the baby are still in her. Pregnancy tissue is still in her. Some of the babies come out, but not everything. And so she's now in a severely life-threatening situation. She could go sepsis. She could get an infection. Her life is at risk, so she needs care. And the method the doctors will do is a dilation and curettage. It's that same method that I just talked about. And what the doctors will do is they'll use those metal instruments to go inside the woman and to scrape out the remaining bits of the baby or the pregnancy tissue that has been left behind. And that's how we save her life in an incomplete miscarriage. But the difference is, in a miscarriage, the baby has died. Whereas in an abortion scenario, the woman is presenting and saying, I want you to kill my baby. Now, any doctor worth their salt knows the difference between a live baby and a dead baby. And so if you are in a state where abortion is banned and you want doctors to kill your baby, they're going to say no. But if you're in a state where abortion is banned and you've got an incomplete miscarriage and you say, I need help, the doctors are going to say, your baby's already died. We will help you. We're not killing killing your baby. We're just giving you health care. Yes, the method might be the same. It's a dilation and curettage, but it's for a different purpose. The purpose of an abortion is to intentionally end the life of an innocent human being. You don't need to do that in a miscarriage because the baby has tragically already died. So this is a complete setup by Senator Cortez. It's a complete lie. She's perpetuating the propaganda of the abortion industry. She's doing their bidding. She probably gets a lot of donations from Planned Parenthood. RFK doesn't know what's really going on here. He doesn't know how to respond. So the second video I wanted to show you guys was a video that popped up on my TikTok feed. It's from some show in America. I've never seen it, but I thought this clip was interesting. So let's take a watch.
Here's the thing no one tells you about marriage, about family. How much you can resent the people you love for everything you had to give up for them, and there's never even a thank you. You just give it all up because that's what having a family demands of a woman. And then you wake up one day and you realize the person that you were meant to be is gone. You gave her up for people who don't even see you. And there's no time to grieve her because there's too much damn laundry.
So I imagine some of you guys who are watching this or listening to it relate to this woman. You feel so stretched out, you feel tapped out, you just feel exhausted. And I get that. Like I get that motherhood and parenting stretches you in ways that you've just never experienced in life. I've certainly had that experience at various points where you feel like, oh, wow, my plate is so full and I don't know how I'm going to cope right now. The thing is, I guess I want to unpack the fact that this kind of show where this woman is saying this kind of thing, it essentially is coming from a place of real bitterness and resentment. And it sounds to me like she has given so much to the people around her, but without ever giving herself time, without ever putting boundaries around that, without ever having expectations of the people that she's giving stuff to. And as a result, she's just in such a place of bitterness and resentment. Instead of assertively saying to people, like her kids, I need you to do chores, I need you to do the laundry because guys, you're like above the age of 7 and you should be helping. Or to her husband, can you help out with this? She's just feeling so spent out and burnt out. And I think, I actually think some of the blame really has to lay at her feet. At that, if we as women or as mothers are just feeling so exhausted, sometimes it just happens so quickly and you don't realize how you got there. But once you realize that you're going down that path of bitterness and resentment to the people around you, it's incumbent upon you to turn around and to be assertive about it and to sort of say, can we have a chat? I just don't think this parenting thing is working the way I thought it would and I need more help, or this is something I feel like you could help me with. And then maybe your partner is also, feeling exhausted and has stuff that he wants to tell you, or maybe he just hasn't even realized that you're feeling exhausted and tapped out. But when you get to this place where you're just feeling so bitter and resentful, it's actually not the fault of everybody else around you. It's actually your fault because you didn't use your own agency and power to do something about it. So I guess there'll be some people that I have a lot of haters. So some people are going to say, well, that's so judgy. You don't know what a woman's going through. She may have no support out there. But, something I would say is if your children are going to school, make friends with the other mums. See if you can tag team over drop off and pick up. See if you can help each other out with meals or with play dates or whatever so that you get some time out. Maybe you don't have any family in the state that you live. We don't have family where we live. So we don't have that babysitting and the help that you get when you got family around. But equally, maybe you're a single mum and you don't have a partner, so you kind of need other people in your life. She doesn't just stop there. So let's take a look at what she says next.
You just wake up one day and you realize that half of you, maybe the best part of you, is dead. And you take it for granted that when push comes to shove, your sacrifices will be remembered and appreciated. And the people closest to you will show you some grace when you need it. And then they don't.
So she's just so bitter, isn't she? And what she says is that she's lost the best part of herself because she became a parent. Now, when we unpack that, you sort of think, well, what part of you do you lose when you become a parent? You lose the part where you get to do whatever you want with your time and your day and your life, because you've now got this little person or these little people that you've got to care for. So in her worldview, the best part of herself is the part where she gets to do things for herself, what she wants all the time. And it's actually a miserable philosophy for life. If all you want to do in life is self-driven and cares about self rather than others, you're just going to be miserable, because actually it's through giving that we receive. It's through giving that we find joy and fulfillment. Often it's through helping others that you just get this excitement because you've helped another person, you've formed that meaningful connection. Now, I get that a lot of the people listening to this show, maybe you feel that you've given the best part of yourself out in motherhood, and you relate to this woman and you think I'm being really judgy here. But my encouragement to you would be to give to your children and your families, but to also not neglect the part of yourself that is creative or gets inspired, or the hobbies and interests that you have. You know, I got to this point in my parenting journey where I was raising these children and I was also pushing myself really hard at work, but my mental health definitely was suffering. I was experiencing quite a bit of anxiety, and I saw a psychiatrist and she said to me, you need to get a hobby. And I just thought, well, I've got no time for a hobby. I don't have any time left to do that. But she just was very firm with me and said, you need to have a hobby. And I didn't even have a hobby at that point. You know, I kind of liked reading, but I do read so much for my day job that at that point, I just didn't think I'd be able to read recreationally. And so that wasn't going to be the hobby. But essentially, we landed on the fact that I'd always wanted to learn how to sew. And we agreed that for 30 days, I was going to learn how to sew. And so at that point in my life, I had 2 kids. I was pregnant with my third, and I was working full time at the university. But I gave myself half an hour a day with my new sewing machine, and I taught myself how to sew. And it felt like torture at first. Everything I made was a complete disaster. I just kept breaking the needle. Nothing worked. But eventually, through doing it every day for 30 minutes, which is apparently a thing with hobbies, if you do that for 30 days, you'll start to enjoy it. And that's what I found. And I think just her telling me I needed a hobby started to open something else up for me. I started to do some gardening, and there was a season after the sewing where I had a veggie patch, and I loved to tend to my veggies. I then really got into baking and making Swiss rolls and banoffee pies. And actually right now I'm back to reading again, and I'm enjoying reading recreationally. So, I think that if you're a mother and you're feeling like you've given the best part of yourself, I'd really encourage you to just reject that line of thinking, to recognize that as a distorted, selfish thought, but to also say, okay, well, maybe there's something in me that's just feeling so burnt out and strung out and tapped out, and I need to find a way in my life to make sure that I do something for me, that I have something for me in my life, and to allow yourself, to give yourself permission to do that. The other important thing about recognizing that you need to develop a hobby as a mum is to make sure that you understand that this is actually good for your kids. This is not a trade-off between you being selfish and having a hobby, or being selfless and giving them everything in every waking minute. No, actually having a hobby is the best thing for your kids, for them to be able to see you as being a more interesting person for them, because you've got other things in your life that you're interested in and that you're exploring and that you're doing, and it models creative pursuits to them. And it shows them, that in this family, because we talk a lot about building a strong family culture, it shows them that the entire family is not orientated around them, that they're not just little emperors that mum and dad do everything for, but that mum and dad have lives too. And so, I talked about taking up sewing. What's amazing is that I took up sewing and it was really hard, and then I got to enjoy it. And I'm not really sewing very much anymore, but I'm still glad that I learned that skill and that I had that season in my life. And, I remember making this bunting for my baby shower for the third child that I was so proud of, because I had learned how to sew and make that bunting. But anyway, my daughter, who is now 14, she loves sewing. She's got a little machine in her room. She sews pencil cases and little tote bags. She's made bunting herself. She's also obviously observed my veggie patch stuff, because she's now really wanting to create her own little flower patch, and she's been talking to my husband, negotiating to get a little part of the garden. So I think the hobbies that we have as mums, they actually help our children to kind of be inspired, to be more creative, to pursue more things, to spend less time on screens. And they see you as a mum, as a more interesting person. More recently, you guys know that I've been on this journey talking about abortion, and I think my kids as well have found that fascinating to see how mum has developed like a social media profile, how she's making these speeches and traveling around. It's kind of given them something to aspire to. It's made them feel like they too could change the world because their mum is trying to do it. And, I think that's also part of being a parent. We don't want to end up like this woman who's so shriveled and haggish. I know I'm going to get hate for saying that, but really she's just bitter and resentful, and that's not who we're meant to be. And so, if you feel you're going down that path, it's a dangerous path, and I just encourage you to spend some time in self-reflection, spend some time in nature, going for a walk, take out a journal and just think about what is life giving for you? How could you have a bit more of that in your day and your life? The third video I wanted to react to quickly is just this video from Beyonce. It's from a couple of months ago where she was speaking at a rally. This was when this presidential election was going on. I didn't have time to respond to it properly then, so I thought we'd share it now and just take a look.
I'm not here as a celebrity. I'm not here as a politician. I'm here as a mother. A mother who cares deeply about the world my children and all of our children live in. A world where we have the freedom to control our bodies. A world where we're not divided. Our past, our present, our future merge to meet us here.
What I hate about this video is that she's a role model and that young girls listen to her, and young women are going to watch this and think that that's the example of empowering motherhood. That's what I thought as a brainwashed 20-year-old at Sydney Uni, that to be empowered, you needed to have access to abortion. Now, she doesn't even say the A word. She doesn't mention anything about what abortion is or how it operates, how that suddenly, women receive this empowerment. She just says they need to have control over their own bodies. So to be clear, she's speaking euphemistically about the fact that for women to be free, they need to be able to kill their child. Now, there are so many responses to this. It's not their body that they kill. Women can have control over their own bodies, but when they exercise that right to their own body in a way that harms the right of another person's body, a weaker, more vulnerable, voiceless party, then that's just called a human rights abuse. That's just them trampling over the human rights of that weaker, more vulnerable party. The other thing Beyonce says is, I'm not here as a celebrity. I'm not here as a politician. I'm here as a mother. And she really labours that, doesn't she? I'm here as a mother. I'm just like you guys. But you know what? She misses the fundamental essence of motherhood when she turns around and says, but you should be able to kill your child. Because what she doesn't realise is that from the moment that baby is made, from the moment of conception or fertilisation, whatever you want to call it, from the moment that the sperm fertilises the egg and you have a distinct, unrepeatable individual human being created, that woman is transformed into a mother. And when she has an abortion, she's transformed into a mother who kills her own child. I was just reading a journal article yesterday, and the title of it is just so evocative. I want to share it with you guys. It says, Forever Connected, the Lifelong Biological Consequences of Being a Mother. They use some fancy language for that, as you can see on the screen. But essentially what they're saying is forever connected, the lifelong consequences of being a mother. From the moment that baby's created, at about 2 to 3 weeks, earlier than when you get 2 lines on a pregnancy test, that baby starts sending out stem cells into the mother's body that remain with her for the rest of her life. This process is called fetal microchimerism. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right, but essentially what it is the fact that this baby and this mother are irrevocably intertwined from that moment on, from the moment that baby is created. And so for Beyonce to turn around and say, I'm a mother, but yes, being a mother means we should be able to kill our children. It's just fundamentally wrong. It goes against the very idea and essence of motherhood. These little babies that are sending out these stem cells, they're not just doing it for their own benefit. It's actually this deeply symbiotic relationship which helps the mother. So it's a preventative against breast cancer, against Alzheimer's. If the mother gets liver disease or kidney disease later down the track, the fact that this baby has sent out stem cells to her are actually protective features for healing the mother's body. So, Beyonce's got it completely wrong. Our culture has got it completely wrong. Our young women, when they look up to someone like Beyonce, who's been so brainwashed by the abortion industry about what motherhood is, they're just being led astray. So, all of this to say, because we've looked at 3 videos today which make you gravely concerned for what our kids are consuming and where our culture is going. All of this to say, please share this video, subscribe to this channel, get the word out there, because we do need the truth to be brought to light about what it means to be a mother, about what it means to be a woman, and how the biggest blessing in life, there is no greater blessing than a human child.